Hey, welcome back to Central Valley Business. I'm Chuck Leonard, sitting in for Mike Scott. Billy, let's bring in our next guest, Carla Jean Neal. Carla, hello, how are you?
Hi,
Golden Valley Union School District. Unified School District.
Unified
School District.
Yes.
In November, you were voted into an area supervisor for the district, and that's area
Trustee.
number 1. Trustee.
Trustee.
Number 1?
Yes, Area 1.
Area 1.
Yes.
And here we are, barely into the year. And we have some people out there that don't want you in that position anymore. I talked to John Mosley a couple weeks ago. He's involved in this recall also. He's an area trustee in the same school district. This is a very small school district to be having this much drama. Tell me your side, Carla.
Okay, well, Chuck, I have been trying to figure out why after the first 2 months of being in office they would want us out so badly. And why would they would want us out of office when we were just elected? And I won by, a slim margin in the first place. So it was a very tight competitive race. So it pretty much all has to do with developers and special interests, from what I can best figure out. And the proponents of the recall do not want this to come out. So some of the things I'm going to say, I want the public to know everything because we're in the business of public education. And there's very little that we can't say that's public, human resources, hiring kinds of things, salaries and things like that. There's a certain amount of agreements that are confidential, but most everything we do is public education because we are paid for by public dollars. So and that's how I ran on transparency and good government. So I want the public to know everything that we can share. And many of the same people who did not tell us what I'm going to tell you are behind the recall. Okay. So we had to go to our Golden Valley Unified School District attorney for me to be able to tell you some of these things today, and he gave us the public okay. We were asked in closed session at the time when this recall first started to not say some of the things I'm going to tell you.
Because the people didn't want it to be said out in public? They wanted it to remain kind of silent?
Well, primarily because it's going to increase our property taxes. Some of the past activities that the past school board and the past superintendent were involved in would put the existing taxpayers in a position where we'd have to pay more taxes potentially.
And taxes to build the schools?
Well, okay. So in closed session, what we learned early on when we were first there was that County Council, Madera County Council, reversed a previous decision. They said that the developers in the southeastern Madera County, particularly one called Riverstone, was exempted from our existing bond, which built our middle school and our high school. In other words, they were not going to have to pay the same taxes that existing homeowners pay. They were exempted. So the builders liked that agreement. And so because the builders generally, when they build large neighborhoods, they're required to build the school too, or pay a portion of the school. Well, in this agreement, they were exempted.
But normally,
yes,
that would
yes. Okay. Normally, they are, as my understanding as well. They are required by law to educate the children in that community in a public school system. So they were exempted from our existing bond, which then they were operating, the agreement, they created a mitigation agreement that was made by the previous board and the superintendent that would, the mitigation agreement would, well, let me think how to say that. Well, first of all, lawsuits could happen because they were exempted from paying the same taxes for the high school and the middle school, yet their children would go to those schools because they were only going to build a middle school.
Okay.
So therefore, the existing homeowners' taxes would go up. The bond owners would no longer have a bond that was worth 100%. It would only be worth because a part of the district was cut out by the developer. So when you take 30% of the district away, then our bond that we have could default. It's only worth 70% of its value that they sold it for. So they're...
Who sold it?
The previous bond.
Superintendents?
Previous superintendents and, yes.
And board members?
Yes.
There's no way one person could have done it? They would have all had to have known?
All 5 voted. Well, we voted for a proposition in 2007 to that said that would also include future school districts or future elementary schools, but yet the mitigation agreement that they put together with Riverstone exempts them from that bond. So therefore, the existing people that live there, like myself, would have to pay an increase in taxes. None of this was told to us. And so we find out from county council that that agreement is not legal, and it's probably not legal, and that the district actually faces possibly a slew of lawsuits, not only from the bondholders, but from property owners, citizens, and also the developers potentially are upset because they could either be double taxed or
someone's got to pay.
So someone's got to pay. And in the closed session, board trustee, who's a proponent of the recall and is in support of it and has been all along, his name is Stephen Lewis. He's a trustee of another area. He said in closed session, and I can now make this public, because it impacts our public taxes. And when anything implicates public taxes, this is public information that the public shouldn't have. And he said that the tax increase would be so small that the property owners would probably never figure it out. And he also said that the developers and us, meaning the school district, have got the 3 board of supervisors in our hip pocket, and so we need to put pressure on county council to change their opinion to make that agreement legal. So right away,
change of opinions make things legal?
Exactly. So we don't know. It may be illegal, and that's what we were facing. So
Carla, this is just a mess.
It's a mess.
Why are there private citizens in the Madera Ranchos supporting the people that are doing this, and at the same time going after you and John Mosley?
Okay, well, as I understand it, there's also a there's something else, there's more. There's a Security Exchange Commission, a federal investigation on our former superintendent, which may have been a reason to leave. When there's an investigation on you, I'm not saying that there was any criminal activity, we don't know, but they are they're investigating whether the hiring process of the company that negotiated with the contractors went through a legitimate process, or was that process rigged? And so did
they hire a buddy?
Did they hire? That could be. They're looking at that. So I cannot say that the former superintendent has done anything wrong. So it seems that they want us out because...
Is it because you know the truth?
Well, it's because they know that it seems like there's groups working in tandem to make things happen, but they don't want the public to really understand or be educated on the impacts, whether they're environmental or whether they're taxes or whether they're... And I'm all about making sure that
when you first brought this up, when you first said, hey, time out, what's going on here? Did anyone ever tell you, hush, keep it up, be quiet, it's okay, Carla, you're new, you don't need to know about this?
Well, I think that's kind of what they would like, us to be quiet, and they would...
Did anyone ever tell you?
No, I don't think anybody said that directly, but I do believe there's a multi-layered group at work here and trying to protect their special interest, and also they want to remove us from office. It is a handful of parents, I will say that. And I think they've stirred up these parents to kind of distract them from this issue. There is a federal investigation on this issue that was brought to our attention. And there's potential tax increase that was not brought to our attention. So I am now able to talk about these things because this has become a public issue now. And we were told in the beginning not to talk about the Security Exchange Commission. I couldn't talk about that for a couple of months. So they were looking into it. We didn't want to, so we don't really know what's happening with that. But anyway, so it may not be legal, what they've tried to do. And they may be trying to hide property tax increases. They may have sold past bonds that are now under a false pretense of being
Junk bonds.
Junk bonds. So, and you can bet that those new homeowners in those new developments would not want to pay for a future bond to improve our schools because, they're exempted. So if they're exempted, and we have some older schools that will need repaired, in the next 20, 30 years. And so I can't, and all the developers are going to want this special exemption of being exempted from the existing taxes, yet their children in the high school, middle school would use our schools. So it doesn't seem fair that one group in the district should pay the taxes or have a tax increase when others are exempted. And,
It's a mess.
I ran on being fair and honest and transparent, and that's the kind of issues that voters need to look at. So the real issue is not that the superintendent left. That's he left voluntarily. We did not force him out. So I'm all about the kids. I'm about the long-term health of the district, all the schools, and they want to keep the cover and they want to get rid of us. So
what's next, Carla?
Well, I want to address the goals of education and the curriculum in the community. We're going to try to keep our focus on, education, quality education. But the truth is we are dealing with the recall now as well. So, it's hard to deal with all these issues. And so the sad part is that it does take away from the focus on the kids, and that's what I'm all about. So I'm trying to keep that focus, even though we're dealing now with the recall as well. And so I'm just going to keep getting the word out. So I will come back because there's more information.
I'm sure there is.
I know there's a lot more coming. So
Carla, thank you very much for coming by. You're very brave to do this, I know. And you'll be coming on the Buzz soon to talk about it also, won't you?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I hope so. We'll see.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. Make sure you stick around.